Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another live edition of the Highbury Squad. We've attempted positive week here at HSHQ. You can let me know how we are doing. Here we go. Good evening, good morning, no matter where in the world you may be. Thank you for joining me. I'm Sophie, and it is solo time right now. I'm waiting for my guest to come into the broadcast studio. Hopefully, Anu will be joining shortly. She's a very talented writer who some of you may follow already on Twitter, and if not, you should do. But here we are. Tried to be positive all week here on the Highbury Squad. And listen, it's not been easy. It's been a very dark season and it's been a very dark time for the club. And in essence, it hasn't been exactly the best time for football. You could argue that the Premier League quality hasn't been that great this year and we've failed to take advantage of it. Let's bring in Anu. She is right here, right now. Hello, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here again.
Yes, it's great to have you here again. Have you been listening to our attempted positive week here at
I have.
Waters? What do you?
So the last 2 days I've been recovering from getting my second vaccine shot. So there's been a lot of time spent in bed. So I really appreciated having, positive content to listen to. It's really helped.
Yeah. Before, there's going to be some of our listeners who don't know who you are. I'm having, as everybody knows, I've had a fan co-host with me most of the week. Kev was on Monday and fans co-hosting Tuesday, Wednesday, and today. I've loved it. It's so much fun. I'm going to be doing a lot more of that next season. Tell us a little bit about you, for those who don't know who you are. I've been raving about you as a writer, and you're going to share some of your stuff a bit later on.
So I'm from India. I'm currently based in Boston, and I work so my day job is in publishing. I work in editing. I've also worked in marketing and publicity. Right now I'm just freelancing because I'm waiting for a visa confirmation, which is obviously it's a long process and it's been delayed because of the pandemic even more. So hopefully that's all sorted out soon. But on the football writing side, I've been writing and editing for Football Paradise. Some of you might be already following us and reading the stuff. So yeah, that's something I really enjoy doing because I also get to mentor a lot of up and coming and young writers as an editor, and then also get to write long form pieces about football, not just Arsenal. So
yes, and you have written quite a few things about Arsenal, and I love reading about it. I thought your review of Wenger's book was very honest, and we'll share some of those as well. Next season, a little bit more. We'll be sharing more stuff on the site as well, some great pieces from writers and stuff like that. Okay, so now we got the niceties out the way. We're going to continue with the niceties because we are trying to be positive, but at the same time, I did want to get your honest take on what it's meant like for you being an Arsenal fan this season.
It's been difficult, not going to lie. As someone who started supporting Arsenal this one season before the Invincibles, this is probably the most difficult period I've experienced personally. It has been a difficult season, and I think it's been exacerbated by, pandemic. Everyone's isolated. I don't have my usual Boston Gooners crew that I've been watching every game with for the past 3 years. And so it has been really difficult, but I'm also obviously, this is positivity week, and I'm always someone who likes to also see on the bright side, but while, being very realistic about things. So I think it's been a difficult season, but there have definitely been bright spots.
Mm-hmm. And the bright spots, of course, have been the Haaland boys and seeing them come to fruition. I just sent a note out to everybody saying, love you guts. As you guys know, I meant to say love you guys, but I love your guts as well, everybody. So we'll just keep it at that. No, and the Haaland boys have been the most positive thing about this season. So I did ask you a little bit to tell me what, because we had James on yesterday and we had Mike from You Are My Arsenal. And, it's been a really good week where we've tried to share our positive top fives and stuff like that. But if
Mm-hmm.
you were to pick out some positives for the season, what are your highlights?
Halen Boys was my number one because I know, because you asked me to, have 5 positives to talk about before I came on. Number one is Halen Boys. Because I mean, yes, Saka was first given his chance by Emery. And I think this is the season he's really started to come into his own. But the exciting part is to see ESR having a season of his own, that he can hopefully, we can hopefully grow on next season. That's been really exciting. Also, mentioned to Martinelli and Tierney, and I hope we see more of them in the coming seasons. They're not as marred by injury, because I think those two are another duo that I think will be crucial to us going forward.
Yeah. I completely agree. I was actually asking the guys last night too, in terms of ESR, he has been injury prone, and I think that's our biggest fear, isn't it? Our biggest fear is that players like Kieran Tierney and ESR can stay fit, because if they can stay fit, and then we do invest somewhat in the marketplace this season, in this off season, obviously it's going to take selling players like Maitland-Niles, maybe Willock, maybe even a Reece Nelson, maybe Xhaka's looking to go, Leno. We can definitely raise the funds. How much of those funds Mr. Arteta is going to be given? I would like your take on Arteta as well before you kind of share some more positives, because yesterday he came out and he had a go at the press, and I just think that he should be bigger than that. If I'm a PR person, I would tell him to avoid those types of confrontations, especially in a season where he's not really performed at his expectations that the club have of him, the fans have of him. He clearly said something negative. Football London put it up on their site, as did other media outlets too. He talked about players reaching a certain ceiling and not being able to surpass that ceiling, and then he doubled down on it. And it felt like maybe after the game he had to address that with the players, and they all came out in defense of him. That part to me felt like a bit of a PR spin. What's your thoughts on him overall?
Just a little, because you mentioned what he spoke about yesterday, because I tweeted about it after seeing it, and I said, on one hand, I quite like the fact that he's calling the media out in a way, but on the other hand, this is going to be used. I worry that this is going to be used to sort of like be a thing against him if we don't get to where we need to be next season and like coming in. And Arsblog did a really good thread that I've shared on my timeline this morning, where he tried to explain, and I think he makes a good job of it, explain what was possibly that could have happened. And I think it was a question of him answering 2 different questions, and the answers being sort of misconstrued as being an answer for one without the other. Because I didn't listen to that press conference, so I hadn't even listened to any of the clips. I'd just seen tweets about it. So I think, like, going through that thread, it was clear that there was some sort of miscommunication in terms of, like, there was 2 questions being asked, and he answered the first one, but it was taken as an answer to the second. But I do agree with you that after the season that we've had, and also in terms of like performances, both from him and from the players, I'm not sure how like wholeheartedly I would support what he did yesterday. I mean, I understand where he's coming from, and it's definitely like it hit a sore spot, and there's clear annoyance and frustration. But for me, it's just more of like, how is it going to be construed? And I don't think it's going to be construed as positively, like overall, as you would think. And that's because of the season we've had. So I think that probably answers a little bit about what I think he's done. I'm not in a, like, at the start of the season, I was really excited to have him have a full season, even if it's pandemic, everything. And I was in full support, and I still somewhere really do want it to work out. But I also will not be like, oh, why is someone Arteta out? Because he's not performed to what we expected him to. And I would also say that he's not got the most out of this squad. Like, we have massive issues with the squad, but I don't think that he's gotten the best out of it. And again, it's not completely his fault. He's made those mistakes that have made it worse. Like I wrote about in my latest article, there's a lot of other things like context that needs to be considered. And this is not me trying to justify his mistakes. They're all part of this massive issue that we've been having for the past decade in a way. And so, I mean, but the fact is that I don't think he's going anywhere, at least until Christmas, I would say, depending on how we're doing. So I think it's just best to hope and see that the club will see sense, or, at least give him and Adu the support that we would need.
Yeah, I mean, if we're in the same situation around October, November time, I would think the club have to make a decision before the Christmas fixture list. We can't go into that, congested fixture list under that type of pressure and stress and not performing as well. We've got to improve in the league. And I know a lot of people have been putting out the league table form since January, and there's no doubt there are improvements. But in terms of how we play and the goals that we score, and Oba's regressed this season, and yes, he's had problems, and Lacazette, I think, had good spells. Pepe, I think, has been much better than people give him credit for. And Arteta's just made some decisions where he's bench players when they're on a high, and he should keep that rolling. So, I think it's a good take, and I think it's going to be a really interesting. Look, there's also owners, they could change their minds, right? I mean, clearly he's not going anywhere right now, but you never know what can happen between now and the summer.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do agree with Raul's comment up here a little bit too, in that if we'd have lost, what would he have said, and would the players have come out? So I thought that was really interesting. Okay, give me some. This show is about nothing, by the way, but it is kind of about something. But I wanted it to be about nothing in the sense that I just wanted us to come on and have a chat and talk and give everyone in live chat the opportunity to just mention whatever they wanted to, ask whatever they wanted to. But as it is an attempted positive week, I would like some of your other positives, because I'd love to see if they're a little bit different from some of our other fan co-host guests this week.
Well, this one is going to be it's going to be the same, because it's the Arsenal women's team.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This will be a decade since I started watching the Arsenal women's team. And that's something I realized only again when I was looking back at, the points of what has given me joy this season. And then when Arsenal women were my second point on that list, I just kind of thought back on when I first started watching them. I mean, and Dave Sager. So he approached me.
Love Dave.
I love Dave too. He's the best. So he approached me about a decade ago to see if I would want to write a column on the Arsenal ladies for Gunners Town. This was just around the time that he'd taken over Gunners Town. He was looking at, getting new writers on there. Mm-hmm. And that became like a great gateway for me into following the women's game regularly. And obviously at that time, we didn't have the TV deals. We didn't have as easy of an access as you would have now. So it was a struggle sometimes. And, I can't thank all the Arsenal women's bloggers at that time enough, including Tim Stillman, who was whose match reports and who's minute by minute reports on some of the games really helped. So it's been really interesting to be a fan of the women's for a decade and then see how far they've come.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it is like an end of this chapter with Joe Montemurro leaving, and I think it's also a really massive summer coming up for the women's as well, and not just who they bring in as a replacement, but to make sure we hold on to the players that we have. But I think they're definitely a very bright spot for me this season personally.
Yeah, no, I would completely agree with that. And what I love about it is, before the pandemic hit, we were seeing the North London derby get, around 40,000 in attendance, and the game was growing, and to see the Lionesses as well kind of do well, and other nations rise in the women's game too. And then obviously the WSL deal with Sky, and the fact that it's going to be seen a lot more next season. Emma Hayes kind of making noise as a coach as well.
She's
just
amazing.
Outside of, isn't she? She's an inspiration, I think.
Absolutely. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah. So total baller. Okay. What else do you have on your list for me?
Okay. This is another going back to the men's team, and I'm going to say this with the caveat of saying that I'm not happy with the kind of football we've been playing overall under Arteta. And I'm not happy with how we seem to have regressed in terms of like the attacking part of the game. But I do think like defensive solidity is something that he has brought in. And I was looking at some of the defensive stats, and again, stats can be taken in isolation and they can be misconstrued. But we've conceded only 38 goals. You could argue that we haven't been creating chances at the other end like we should, which we haven't. But I think we've conceded 38 goals, and we're in the top 3, if like in terms of our defensive record in the league. Again, the fact is we are 9th, so our performances haven't been good enough. But I think in terms of like that solidity at the back, that is something that Arteta has brought in.
It's true. I mean, I think it's a little. It deceives a little over the last. I think from January to like March, end of March, it felt like we were a bit stealthier. You can tell from the stats between Wenger, Arteta, and even Emery that Arteta's good stat is the goals that we've conceded. And it's a great point that you bring up, because that has been a positive. And ordinarily, maybe a couple seasons ago, that game against Chelsea last night, we lose 3-1.
Exactly. How many times have we seen that? Like, how many times have we seen we've dominated a game, we've played really well, and then just not had it go for us? So I think, yeah.
But it's really important though that he, I've got the smooth criminal comments coming, so I like it. What I think is so important, Anu, is that we've got to score more goals. We've created very little chances.
Absolutely.
I think that's come back to bite us in the arse, hasn't it? Not really identifying that creative midfielder position, and ESR's kind of been put on the left. He's played that number 10 role. That's something I think that is, as well as continuing to find a right back. And, if David Luiz isn't going to sign, and we need another CB, a cover for Kieran Tierney. But my goodness, we have to be a lot better going forward, don't we?
Yeah, because 50 goals in is just not good enough.
It's not.
It really isn't.
I mean, look what we've lost. We've lost 21 goals from Aubameyang this season. I mean, it's cost us greatly. You add those goals in, and I get we've taken the piss all season about Mourinho and how he's had Tottenham play, but we've definitely played very Mourinho-esque football. But I agree with John here. Liverpool actually built from the front to the back, and generally, teams build from the back to the front. But, they had Mane in place, Firmino, Salah. That midfield was like the Great Wall of Liverpool in terms of protecting that back four. But then when they added Alisson and Virgil van Dijk, that was like the magic ingredient.
Absolutely.
So I'm hoping we find our magic ingredient going in the other direction, because as bad as we've been and as many of the chances as we've missed, I think Arteta is very culpable for that. And we've always enjoyed champagne football, offensive football, sexy football. And he's totally stripped that from the team this season. So, yeah. All right. What else do you have?
Okay. You may say this is scraping the barrel a little bit, but I mean, after the season we've had, our away form, our home form has just, it's been really bad. And I think a lot of this also it's telling that we've had the most, not just Arsenal, but in the league this year. I read a stat on Albino just earlier where he said that there have been the most number of away wins in the Premier League this season. And I wonder how much of that is because of no fans, because obviously that's been a huge change. But if you look at our away record, we've got 30 points from 18 games, which is the most we've had for 3 seasons.
And our away form towards the end of Wenger's reign and Emery's was pathetic.
Yes. I think it's just about that balance. Like, that's just been one of those, like, this is what irks me about, the team in general. It's the inconsistency, because on like one hand you have, I do hope we are building from the back. And that is something I said, even in the fall, that I could see the defensive solidity, but, it's been very imbalanced. So I think it's the same here. Like our home form's been really bad, but the away one has been, or like our record against the top six this season has also been good and impressive. But again, the kind of football we're playing, it's not the football that I grew up watching.
Yeah, and Newman, I hear what you're saying here. When he takes the handbrake off, the defense will collapse. But we've seen us. I mean, look at, if you could take a blueprint of a performance this season, if we're doing positive week here, it's that game against Leicester for me.
Yes.
That felt like old school champagne sexy football.
Agreed.
Right, handbrake off. And at the time, Leicester were the darlings, and they're doing great. They're going to get European football. Brendan Rodgers has done a superb job there. They're in the FA Cup final this weekend. So that to me is, if he's going to look at film over and over again or look at a style, for me it's that game against Leicester. Absolutely. And again, to your point and your positive point, it was away. It was an away win, and it was a superb performance at the King Power. I mean,
exactly. No, that was a great, and I think you make a very good point about that being a good blueprint to go off on, because I don't think he just seems very unsure and confused, and he keeps changing the lineup and he keeps changing everything. And I think that's also one of the reasons why people look so unsettled sometimes, is because things are changing all the time. And I think hopefully, he gets, or at least there's someone advising him. Like, that's another thing I wrote in the article, that you have these two really young people, like, Arteta's young, Edu is young. None of them have the experience of, being at that level in a football club, much, less a football club like Arsenal, which has been going through difficult times before. Right. So there's a lot of this could have been avoided if we had someone of experience there.
Yeah, I think the chopping and changing at the back, especially, you need to look at the partnerships that have been created at the back in certain teams. Manchester United started off really poorly. They've developed some type of chemistry. Leicester, you could argue, look at Fofana's rise in the Premier League. Meanwhile, our guy Saliba is still on loan in France. So I think if he could just crank his ego down a notch, and I know you have to have a big ego to be a manager.
But it's a balance. It's a balance.
Yeah, completely a balance. And I hear what you guys are saying. Raul and Static, a lot of people writing and saying that, we haven't, our consistency at home and the amount of goals we've scored at home, is not good enough. And our home form is it's kind of, we flipped the coin, right? We, under Emery and Wenger, our away form sucked and we were good at home, and now we're good away and we've lost that vibe at home. It's kind of crazy. So that is something that really needs to be fixed. And Newman, I know Maddison was injured and a couple of others, but you still have to beat who's in front of you, and they have a good squad. So let's give credit where credit is due. Right. Do you have another one?
I do. This is, so it's more of a personal one, I think, but people might relate to it. And partly the pandemic has played a part, because I've had more time working from home. But I've been following a lot more of the women's game overall, like just outside of Arsenal as well, and also just men's football in other leagues. And I think that's just because I've not lost as much energy watching Arsenal, because at a point I kind of detached, not in a bad way, just in a I need to protect myself sort of way. And I was still watching all the games, but I still had space to watch more football. And I think that's been like on a personal side, that's been great, because I've been watching so much football that I would never have done before. Right.
Yeah. I've noticed a difference. I'm not going to lie. We have a great audience. We do great shows. I feel like we've created some really interesting content this year outside of just game day stuff, but it's been hard. As coming towards the end of the season, it takes a lot of time and energy to plan, but it's so much more fun when your team is doing well.
Yes.
And we're not the kind of show that thrives on, losing or negativity. No. And I would say most people who love Arsenal Football Club and do this, they are so desperate. We were all so desperate to get to that Europa League final. And our audience has come along for the ride with us this season. But there's no doubt that since we've been out of the Europa League, I think people have kind of need a break. And I've seen that in it depends on what kind of show you do. Now transfer shows are going crazy, right? And I'm thinking to myself, wow, I can't even get on that train just yet because
No.
it's going to be such a long summer between now and August. And think anew, it's typical, isn't it? How many players have we been linked to already?
Every midfielder, every right and left back. It's just, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not been easy, and I totally hear you. But I also think that there are a lot of people that, despite the results, despite everything, because there's a question I want to ask everybody today as well. There's the new shirt that's been leaked. Isn't it coincident that it's been leaked at this point?
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, right? So
Yeah.
we'll get to that. But no, I totally understand that. And it's not been easy. It's definitely not been easy. Right.
No, but like, on that note, just kind of getting to the last one that I have was actually, all the Arsenal content creators. That's been a massive, because there's so many talented people, and including, the Highbury Squad, who have continued to deliver quality content even though it's been a terrible season.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a really big positive, because you're part of a community, and I think that's football is so much easier with watching it with fans or having that community. And I think that's been one of the really biggest bright spots for me personally, just to have all these contents to relate to, and also just know that I'm not on my own, but also just the fact that someone is putting that much time and energy into producing something this good, even when our season is not going well.
Yeah, and I sent a shout out to all of the podcasters last week, saying, just because I know it's not easy, and congratulations to everyone for kind of just keeping going and creating really good content and engaging and bringing fans together, as much as we are so divided again. Felt like at that first protest, we all came together and we realized what it is to be Arsenal fans. And then you go out of the Europa League and the world is, the sky's falling. And it feels like the sky has fallen as an Arsenal fan this season. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But that's why I didn't want to spend the week just kind of bashing everything. Just wanted to spend the week to try and find the silver linings. And it's not being delusional in any way, Anu.
No, not at all.
It's really not it's not like putting a Band-Aid over an injury or papering over the cracks. It's just about taking a beat, because it's been bang, 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 bang. And trying to just, have conversations about, well, look, we're still Arsenal Football Club. We're still a great, I know people don't like hearing this, brand. We have pedigree. We may be an absolute garbage, shite Premier League team right now, but we're still a great club. We just have owners who don't know their ass from their elbow, an executive team who have made some of the worst deals in the history of time, and a manager who, needs to just crank it down a notch and realize he's not Pep Guardiola and he doesn't have the Manchester City team.
No, he doesn't. And I think it's about adapting as well, because I was listening to the latest episode of Righty's House yesterday, and they made an interesting, I think it was Carl Anker made a really interesting point about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because obviously both him and Arteta were being compared quite a lot, especially in October, November, December, that period. And an interesting point he made, which I thought was a good one, was that Ole has adapted whatever he thinks he wanted to do because of the squad that he's had, and I think that's one thing that Arteta really can learn from. And I think he's utilizing their squad much better than we are right now.
Yeah, I do feel, I agree with you. I think they've had a better squad. They've got a better quality of players. But that's what gives me hope about Arteta. If I'm not an Arteta fan, but if I'm stuck with him and we're stuck with him, I hope he can pull off what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has done in a way. They have better players. They've invested far more than we have. We've still invested, but I agree. You can't put square pegs in round holes. I've said that to Kev a lot on the show. And playing the false nine, I'm for that. If you have the quality.
Exactly. It's the tactics haven't always fit in with who we have or what we want to do. So it's just been very dissonant with everything.
Yeah.
So I think I think I mean there's truth on both sides. If we don't have this like a squad of the quality that we would like, and we don't have a manager who knows completely at what he wants because he's a rookie manager. But
Yeah.
I think both could be, like, even in these circumstances, could be much better than we've seen. And I think that's where a lot of the frustration comes from.
Completely agree. You're listening to the Highbury Squad, here with my co-host this evening, Nande, who is a really great writer. You can see her Twitter handle here. Please go follow her right now. We'll share some of her stuff at the end of the show too. As did promise, this is the show about nothing as well, but Anu is delivering everything right now. So let's ask some questions, guys. Let's get going in live chat before I give away the free ticket in live chat tonight for, check this out. You guys ready? It's tomorrow. It's a signed Tony Adams framed Arsenal shirt. Talk about positive thinking. Talk about a positive Arsenal player and a time here in terms of absolute legend who delivered every single time he put that shirt on. And it's a centenary shirt as well, Anu.
Wow.
So you guys stop this guy from winning it. Don't let Jags win. He's bought more tickets. He's already retweeting about it too. So I'll ask that question in a little bit here. The new shirt, with everything that's gone on and how we feel about the owners, with everything that has happened this season, it's very hard to not feel lured by that new shirt, which, by the way, is similar to the color of the shirt you're wearing right now.
You can have a look. It's the Boston Gooners, like a vintage Boston Gooners.
I love it.
Tee.
That's very cool. I wish we'd bring that cannon back. I miss that cannon.
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about the shirt. Are you going to buy it? If not, why not? And if so, why?
So I made a personal decision after everything that happened with the ESL, that I am not going to buy any merch until a lot of those problems are sorted out. Not saying that Kroenke completely has to go. I mean, I am Kroenke out, yes, because if they continue to manage the way they have been, yes, I want them out. But if we can't get them out and if they're keen to stay, I would still be okay with them at least trying to run us as a proper football club. So until I see evidence of that, I've made a personal decision of not buying any more merch. Like, I mean, I bought merch this season, the season before that as well. But like, that's my personal decision.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that Adidas have been knocking it out of the park. And, we are making jokes about it being Arsenal Fashion Club, and they're not wrong. The amount of kits and away kits and just like training kits we've released this season. How many? I think like something like 11 or 12.
I mean, we bought out the black shirt halfway through the most diabolical season, and the timing of it was quite incredible, wasn't it, really? I mean,
exactly.
It was beyond cheeky.
It is beyond. So, I mean, I do like the new shirt that's been released, but I mean, on a personal, I made a personal decision that the week of the ESL that I wouldn't buy any more merch for now.
Yeah. I agree. It's very difficult to resist that shirt. I wish it was a little shade darker. There was a funny exchange between, I think it was Tim Stillman and Gunner Blog. I think it was them on Twitter talking about it was the shade of someone's pee, depending on what you've eaten or had to drink, which I thought was completely hilarious. And then when I kind of said about I'm not going to buy anything, someone said, well, what about the people that work at the club who aren't the manager, who aren't the executive team, who aren't the players? Without that revenue, then we tend to suffer.
That's
but we're seeing, you know what I mean? So, but we're also seeing apparently our club go out and hire some super Uber firm to get new scouts on board.
Yes,
I think that's the problem, Anu, that fans have. It's like mixed messages. 1 minute we're doing one thing and we're getting rid of Gunnosaurus and we're furloughing 50 people. And the next minute we're getting rid of our scouts and now we're hiring a firm. That's the that is. Would you agree with that?
I completely agree. I mean, you just don't know what to think, and it's. I think I don't know if they're as insidious as that could be, or they're just really incompetent. But it's. You can't help but wonder if it's a way to just like get us all up in our heads and just be wondering what exactly is going on.
No, I agree. So let me go back here. Some of the comments, I've been putting them up as well. And this is the juxtaposition. You feel like you're feeding the beast. And at the same time, like I said, it's tricky when you want people who work for the
Yes,
club to not
agreed.
lose their jobs. I agree with you, John and Anu. I'm not sure if you're seeing all these comments I'm putting up,
Some of them, yeah.
but you are getting a ton of them. Let's do this one. Do we re-sign Odegaard on permanent or loan based on the sample size we've seen so far? My answer is going to be no, because Real Madrid are going to want like 50 million. And I think that money can be split maybe between a couple of players. I think if we dig deep enough and hard enough, we can find something a little bit cheaper. And he's gone off the boil since he's come back from injury.
International. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you on that one. Again, another a loan that I really wanted to work out because I was quite excited when he came. And I was speaking to one of my best mates who's Norwegian, and he's followed his career since he was like 15.
Mm-hmm.
So I had gotten really excited about us at least having this prospect on loan. But I don't think he's been good like pre-injury, like you said. He was showing signs of maybe fitting in a little bit more into that midfield and starting to take control.
Yeah.
But based on every other like area on the field where we have issues and we can't, I'm not sure we can afford to spend that kind of money on a player. And obviously we still don't know what's happening at Madrid, whether Zidane is going to stay on for the rebuild or, what they're going to want, or they're just going to want to cash out on him. So there's all these like, it was already a difficult situation, and it was always going to be difficult to get him on for like a full-time basis. But I think it's just been made more complicated by us, obviously, not knowing if we have Europe,
Mm-hmm.
and Madrid also suffering in the Champions League as they did, and not knowing whether Zidane's going to stay on or what's going to happen there. And obviously,
Right.
with the ESL as well, like they're still holding on to that one.
They are, and I mean, it's that's not gone away, and we talked about it a few weeks ago. It's definitely not going to go away, and we'll be keeping tabs on that. There was a good question here from Raul. Everyone chime in as well. We've got Anu, our co-host, our fan co-host today, great writer, and obviously the squaddies are always my co-hosts. I mean, they're here through thick and thin. What should be our realistic targets for next season? I'm curious to know what everyone thinks on this one. Anu?
I think a lot of that would depend on the decisions we make in the summer, because if we set our targets first, then we can ensure we can do the work needed to be done to get us there. But if we can do the things we'd want in the summer in terms of getting a certain number of people out and improving areas of our squad, I personally don't think that a top 4 challenge is going to be out of our reach. But I do think like we need, and maybe I'm being like old-fashioned in that way, but I would really like to see us go for another FA Cup this season. I was really unhappy when he put out a weakened squad, and the way all that happened. So
I think that came back to bite him in the arse.
It did.
And we were the defending champions as well, and we went out with a real big whimper. That was his big first mistake that he had made. And Wesbird, thank you so much. If you like what you're hearing, hit that like button. If you don't, that's okay. We'll still be friends. But we would appreciate a like. I think Anu deserves it completely. Here's what I think. I would just love for us to be competitive again in the Premier League. I would love for us to. It's been so long since we've been competitive in the league.
And consistent.
And competitiveness and consistency in the league is what I'm looking for. And if we're able to push for a European spot, then great. And look now, right? That FA Cup final decision, Anu, has really come back to bite us in the arse, because our pedigree in that tournament is phenomenal, right?
Exactly.
If we'd have won that, we'd be in Europa League. If we'd have given it, if he hadn't chopped and changed so much, that was another avenue, a possibility, and he'd shut the gates on that a little bit too soon. So for me, I want consistency. We're talking about some people. Mr. Waffles wants in Totteringham's day again.
Don't we all? There's still a chance for that to happen this year. I rely in
here says Arsenal need a new captain. USOP, we need players incoming for a top 4 finish. Johnny Boy, haha, more training kits. We don't we don't have enough. Newman, there's no need to get violent, but go on, why not? And top 4 material for Richard, as long as the summer transfers go ahead as planned in and out. I mean, that's going to be the target. His target was to get European football, and he's failed. He's missed his targets this season.
He has.
So,
and I think the FA Cup, like that is probably the point in the season when, like, if I look back now, but even at like while it was happening, I knew that it would be one of the points of the season I'd look back on and go, this is what's really made me sad and disappointed. It was that FA Cup loss.
Yeah. Let's get to because this plays into that too, because for me, our identity has always been of the last few seasons, Anu, is that we are a cup team. And so I was expecting us to give a little bit more in those 2 legs against Unai Emery, and we failed. We failed so greatly. I mean, the first leg, we lost everything in the first leg.
We got everything wrong. Like Arteta, the team, like everything. We got everything wrong.
Everything wrong. And Pramod here asks, good to see you back, Pramod. So if you've always said the team squad is the image of the manager, what is the image of Arteta and thereby the squad? I'm not sure. But I think
that's the point. I think that's the point, because he's not certain of anything, and that's reflecting on the squad and the way we play.
Yes. And I've always said that as much as I'm not a fan, he deserves one more window, or deserved, prior to crashing out to Unai Emery. That was the final straw for me. But to turn this team into his image completely. But he still has brought in Pablo Mari, Cedric. He brought in Gabriel, Thomas Partey, Matt Ryan, Runnison. I mean, he has brought in a lot of his own players. But when you look at Pep Guardiola's Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Manchester City, when you look at Antonio Conte's Juventus, Inter Milan, Chelsea, when you look at Diego Simeone, Atletico Madrid, they take on the personality of the manager as well as the characteristics of what his style is, which is why I think he's not quite there yet with what he wants. Would you agree?
Agree.
Yeah?
I completely agree. And I think that was one of the biggest tests for him this season as well, and I don't think he's lived up to it. He seems a little, for all his like confidence in, like, he's always been a good talker, even when he was our captain. But for all of that, he seems a little lost, and I don't mean that in a bad way, in the sense of he doesn't know, but I think he just gets in his head all the time. There's that part of like the galaxy brain, you say, like with Pep. But the thing is, Pep can afford to do it because he has the experience, also has the squad and all the money. I mean, look at that bench. They can have an entire, like their entire B team can still compete in the Premier League. So I think that's a problem for him, because he tends to overthink and overcontrol a lot of the times, and I think that's been an issue.
I've worked with a lot of super uber smart people in my career, and sometimes smartest people make the biggest mistakes. But they can also do great things. It's because they take a lot more risks, perhaps. So here's one I've got for you, and I don't know what's trending here about playing cars, but I do like a little bit of cars. Apparently Liverpool have a penalty. Someone said it's a bit off topic, and I did want to throw it in here. Where is it? I'm going to find it right here. It's a bit off topic. So if they were asking about the here it is, John. Still confused that Kepa couldn't have been carded last night for stopping that back pass. One of the things I think we'd all love to see next season, Anu, is this VAR thing being corrected.
Yes, absolutely.
Been an absolute nightmare. It's been, I think every team has suffered from it. I don't think we could say we're the only ones. No. We see it work in MLS here perfectly well. We see it work in other leagues around the world perfectly well. I think a lot of the times the rules have to also be improved, or in order for VAR to work, the handball, the offside. So I mean, he should have been sent off for that.
He should have been, and I was surprised that none of the commentators seemed to bring it up at the time it happened. They talked about it after, but I was surprised as well. Oh
wow, the penalty's been ruled out. Another farcical situation. Crikey. Well, we're gonna get out of here in about 10 or 15 minutes, and we'll get to watch the second half. Here's another one for you guys. we'll get some funny stuff going here, but this one I wanted to. Lacazette may be signing a year extension. How do you feel about that one?
I'm happy about that one, actually. Because if it's one season, because we are at the point where we do need some settled, experienced internationals, and I think Lac has been a great sort of role model as well for the younger players, and you can see it. Like quite a few of them saying they love to play with him. They're learning so much from him, and I think in terms of what we were saying about Oba not being like, this is no disrespect to Oba, I love him as a player, but he's just not the right captain material that we would want, like a team like this would need. And I think Lac has done a much better job whenever, like, even if he's not had the armband. So I do think it's a very good thing. Like, anything longer than a year would have been a little risky, especially because he's, the age that he is in. But I think 1 year extension is great news.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that too. Kev has said, especially on his Kevin Says show, that we're a better team when he plays in that number 9 role. Yeah. And I would agree with that. And I don't think you could argue that this season. Now, we know how talented Aubameyang is. He's great. He's been phenomenal for the 2 previous seasons. But this season, when we needed some type of leadership, I feel like Lacazette stepped up. You could see that the younger players, Saka, Martinelli, ESR, they all gravitate to him. They all like him. The body language of Aubameyang yesterday when he came off, I thought it was interesting with Arteta's comment about the players are behind me and that I've spoken to the players, but the captain did not indicate that at all, did he?
No. Yeah.
And so I think that's going to be a bit of a problem. Lac is like a dad to the kids, give great. Yep, I agree. So absolutely. a lot of positive comments in chat about Lacazette and Aubameyang maybe being a luxury player. I think we've missed the window to sell Aubameyang.
I agree too.
That if we were going to do that, it was going to be last summer.
It was going to be last summer.
Yeah. For sure. Okay, let's get to some fun stuff too, because as Arsenal fans, we love to dream, and we're always associated with the most outrageous players that we can never afford. And why would they come to Arsenal now? Without European football, actually, before I get to the fun one, I want to know your take. What about the baby Europa League conference? Do you want to be in that? Mike and James last night were like, I'd rather not. I'd rather be in the Europa League than that. But if it's another vehicle to progress, what's your take on that?
I'm undecided as of yet, because it's like, on one hand, I see the use of, we're still like, it's the 3rd-tier competition, but it's still Europe. So I don't know how much it might help. In terms of like money coming in and funds being available and like things like that. But on the other hand, when we already have like a squad that we need to focus on and need to, kind of fine tune it, I'm not sure whether extra games in like a competition like are going to be helpful rather than hindering the work that we're doing outside, like, in training and things like that. And especially after, it's going to be a tough summer for all the players as well, because they've already been pushing themselves beyond their limits. And then you've got the Euros coming up, and there's so much football going on. So even I'm thinking in terms of injuries, because we've had quite a few muscle injuries. I know we're not the only team to suffer that.
Right.
But I'm thinking like from all of that point of view. So I'm undecided. I'm not saying like, I definitely don't want us, but I'm more like on the side of, maybe it might be a good thing not to be in it.
Yeah, it's interesting that I find it's Arsenal Football Club need to be in Europe, but they need to be in the right competition in Europe, right? Matty K, if it's possible to just put the under-23s in, and we're not breaking any rules. I would definitely go down that route if it means being able to progress somewhat, but I don't agree with Arsenal fans who say staying out of Europe will do us good. This is the first time that we're going to miss the big boy competitions. Look, there's actually still hope. Is there still hope?
I would say there still is, but it's also that thing, like you said, it's the hope that kills.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Newman just said, put the ladies team in it. Well, they're already playing in the Champions League.
Yes, they are. They're busy, Newman. So bugger off. The ladies are busy. Okay, so the one I wanted to have a little bit of fun with here is, I don't know if you heard Agbon Lahore's comment on TalkSport regarding how Aubameyang's pass wasn't a real assist, and that the whole assist stat is being taken way out of context. I actually said that to Kevin and Amanda on a show a few months ago. You know, it's a little bit of an embellished stat, if you like. But Jack Grealish came out on Twitter and was defending Aubameyang. And so everyone kind of went into a little bit of a tizzy saying, oh, look at Grealish standing up for, you know, Captain Oba. Calm down, everyone. And I think
wouldn't we love to see that?
I mean,
would love to see him at Arsenal. But
Saka and Grealish on that side. Can you imagine that? That could be pretty special. But this is where we get into crazy talk and crazy time. I mean, why would Grealish come to Arsenal? Why would he?
Why would he? Yeah. I mean, they are likely to finish below us despite all of it. But yeah, it's hard to see. Yeah, I'm still loving some of these comments coming up.
Yeah.
No, but I also think that I don't know if you saw the chat, the tweets between Michael Owen and then Cesc Fabregas, like quote tweeted it about the same thing about assists in like it was a couple of days ago, and then Rio Ferdinand got into it as well, because Michael Owen basically made the point that if it's, you know, it's a little, you know, strange to equate the same number of assists, the same number of goals, you know, they kind of equate them as the same thing. And then Fabregas jumped in saying, well, you know, sometimes it can be more difficult to send in the right pass at the right time. And then Ferdinand goes, well, none of you creative players could be able to do anything if we didn't defend and, you know, hold down the fort. I think there's a lot of valid points in there, but there's also this thing of football is a team sport, so there's always going to be like all incidents on that spectrum. So there are going to be some goals where it's just a tap in. Yes, the strikers, it may be a tap in where the striker's done a really good job to get to that position. Or it might just be like a lucky rebound. Like a lucky rebound, for example, you know, it should be on the same level as, okay, a pass that was not intended as an assist. So I think there's a lot of nuance in there, and we have to remember it's a team sport, but it was fun. I didn't see Lahore and Grealish, and I'm gonna.
Yeah, you can check it out. But brilliantly put. No, I completely concur with you and what you're saying. Right, I'm gonna get you guys out on this one. A couple of things. 2 more left. I have heard from a source. I can't reveal my source, but Willian is absolutely not coming to LA Galaxy. That is not on the cards. A very reliable source tells me. I mean, I think they would love to sign him because he could do well here, but that is not happening. So don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you right now, there is no truth in that rumor at all. Right. Here we go. Get ready. I know, John. What can I know it's
maybe someone needs to get on the phone. Someone needs to get on the phone to Beckham and be like, you could use him in Miami.
In Miami, yeah. I mean, you know, why not? But Newman. And then, you know what? I think I just ruined Positive Week with one comment and statement. Just unbelievable.
One, yeah. We were doing so well till then.
Yeah, really doing well. Okay, here we go. Are you ready? We're going to give away the free ticket for this Tony Adams shirt. It's a very special shirt. It's from the centenary year. It is signed by the Arsenal legend, captain, God. Call him what you want. Every single word that describes greatness is filed under Tony Adams. So I would like for you guys to tell me, the first person in chat, and Anu's going to help me, okay, how old was Tony Adams when he was made captain of Arsenal Football Club? How old was Tony Adams when he was made captain of Arsenal Football Club? The first person in live chat to give me the answer wins the free ticket, and I will send you your number. You'll have to email me at thehighburysquad@gmail.com, thehighburysquad@gmail.com, and here is the winner. Boom. Yeah. Right there. And they was coming in thick and fast here, thick and fast. I love it. Well done, you guys. You are Johnny on the... Some of you got it wrong, but I don't know. How would you pronounce this? Shay or Shay? How would you pronounce that?
Can you get it back? I can't seem to see it again.
Okay, hold on.
It's probably Chaitanya, is it?
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you email me, correct. Very good. Finger on the pulse. You win the free ticket. Email me the highburysquad@gmail.com and I will get you your free ticket number. And everyone in live chat is rooting for you to beat Jags tomorrow night, because he is the rock star, the luckiest man alive, and he's into the Highbury Squad Hall of Fame. We're also going to induct a second squaddie into the Highbury Squad Hall of Fame next week, and it is the man who came up with the term squaddie. So look forward to that next week as well. Thank you guys so much for joining myself and Anu this evening. Anu, how's it been for you?
It's been amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I've had a lot of fun.
Brilliant stuff. Tell everyone where they can find you, all your stuff again. Share the good news.
Oh, yeah. So on Twitter, you can find me at Nande. Sophie's had it up a couple of times. It's just ANUNANDE. And if you want to read any of my stuff on Football Paradise, I hope you'll follow us as well. It's football_P on Twitter. And you can find, the latest piece that I wrote, which was a sort of looking back and looking forward from the 1971 team. But yeah, it's been great to be here, and like thank you for being so welcoming and being really great. Great squaddies.
You're fantastic. The squaddies have absolutely loved you. They've smashed it tonight. And we're going to have you back on very, very soon. I love your insights. Always enjoy talking to you about football and all sorts of stuff as well.
Same.
Brilliant stuff.
We are going to have that Long Island iced tea in person.
We are, definitely. Yes. And as Jeffrey Werner just put it, where is it? Anu, the pride of Boston. Here we go, right there.
Shout out to Jeff. Shout out. He's the one who's designed this T-shirt because he does brilliant. All the. Yeah,
that's great. Love it. And a shout out to all of the Arsenal America gang and everyone here and around the world who's joined us tonight. Couldn't do this show without you. This show is absolutely nothing. We'll be back tomorrow night with a very special guest, and it's the best way to tap to wrap up a positive week. We've got Jill Armstrong on the show, the daughter of Geordie
Jill.
Armstrong.
She's amazing.
If you're looking for some positivity in life and about Arsenal, just follow Jill, A Touch of Powder, on Twitter. She's brilliant. She's going to come on. We're going to talk about the 71 double winning side, and we're going to have some fantastic discussions and conversations and share some great pictures with you as well. So until tomorrow night, you get to take us out. And you know how that goes.
How?
I love it, because everyone got caught last night as well. You got to take us out with Always Arsenal.
Okay. Always Arsenal.
Always Arsenal. Good night. See you tomorrow, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.